Welcome to the Pet Wellness, and I am Kim Melanson. Uh, sorry, I'm a certified pet dog trainer and also certified in behavior counseling. And I've been doing this for about 18 years. I worked at shelters for 11, 12, 13 years, at the Animal Rescue League for 11, and at the Save a Dog in Sudbury. And then I also am now just doing private clients since 2016, and also teaching classes at a few places. So I thought I'd do today, we'd help you get to helping your pets adjust to life after the pandemic. Just make sure everybody can hear me. Oh, and I see some pets coming up on the screens. Awesome. Yay, everybody wave if you can who's out there. So yes, good. I know everybody can hear me. Awesome. So, oh, the cutie's getting hugged and stuff. Yay. Great. At some point, I'll probably put my video on and show you my dogs too. But we'll get started because there's a lot here today to look at. So what did they miss? This is my Loki. He's a cattle dog. He's a Corgi American Eskimo mix. This was when he was about 3 months, and he decided the kitchen table looked fun to look out the window. But what did they miss during the pandemic? This is where I am today, and that was my office for much of April and March. I went back to seeing everybody outside and in garages and porches last June, so I have been working pretty steady. But they missed a lot of independence training, alone time, and being separated. A lot of people thought it was great to be home with their dogs, but unfortunately, then they didn't leave the dogs alone, so they hadn't learned all that. Even some of the dogs needed more sleep than they were getting. I found grouchy puppies sometimes and things. So really getting your dog to learn how to be alone again and be separate is going to be one of the things we're going to should be working on before we might go back to work. Even if you're going back to work, I even say if you're going to stay home forever, you're going to go to the gym now and go to the grocery store and go out to dinner, and you might be gone 3 hours instead of 1, where we were really going out very quickly and back. So there's going to be longer time frames even if you're still at home. And if you're going back, you're probably going back 2 or 3 days a week, maybe full time too. So the other thing they missed during the pandemic was socialization. Even if they had been socialized, they were a year old when the pandemic hit. Having that year and a half of no one coming in the house, maybe not seeing other dogs for a couple months when everybody was really worried, and maybe not going out to different environments. They missed that. So even if they weren't brought home during the pandemic, they've had a year and a half of very low socialization. So that's going to be something to work on and think about. And then just consistency in activities and schedules. It was very haphazard, where sometimes there was kids in school, sometimes not. It wasn't always a good schedule, and a lot of people walking around and noisy. So once they get back to a normal schedule, or it might always be a little bit up and down, one day at work, one day home. So how do we help our dogs do with that? So I think of dog training as 3 different ways, or behavior. How can we manage and prevent the behavior? And I have now, after all these, because let's get started now. If you're going back to work, I know a lot of people are going back to work in September. A lot of people are going back in the offices in September. A lot of people are doing vacations right now, but that doesn't always mean the dog's coming. The dog might be staying home. That doesn't mean we're always working on stuff that might happen at home. So you're definitely going to start some management and prevention now. You get friends to help. You might have to hire help. Gates and crates, Enrichment will be going all this. What exercise does the dog need? Training, food puzzles. And then you train and practice this now. So you get some basic training in, and you start practicing leaving the dog alone, etc. And then third, if you have a dog that's really nervous about being alone, scared, or scared of people, you will need to desensitize and counter condition. And again, you start now so that when we really get busier in September, January, whatever it might be, your dog has some time to adjust. And management is your easiest tool. So say this one says, guest arrive. I don't want my dog escaping out the door. You put him behind the gate while you open the door. Dogs barking in windows. Sometimes I say, close the shades. It sounds simple, and it is simple. So a lot of times your first line of defense is this. You're going to leave the dog home alone and he likes to chew. You might want to do some crate training before you leave the dog alone again and put him in a crate. And I love this at the bottom: anticipate, prevent, and teach. So I always think about this with kids. You'd go into like a grocery store and two kids were being wild and you said, hey, if we get through the grocery store quick and everybody behaves, you can have a piece of candy at the front, or we can go to the playground. You had much better behaved kids than if you just ran in there and they all had a breakdown in the middle. So if you prepare and be proactive, you're going to be better off. And then again, manage and then teach the new behaviors that they might need. I am a positive trainer. I am humane and base my work on science-based. And that doesn't mean we're whittly-nilly or, we let our dogs get away with everything. There's definitely going to be the management part of it. And I just don't use pain or fear to train. I do use crates. I do use harnesses. I do use those things. So, your do's and don'ts, just be positive with the dog. I don't use the harsh corrections. I like to tell the dog what I want him to do instead of not. Treats are going to be your friend because treats are like money to dogs. So they're very salient to the dog. Toys is another thing, affection. So the dog can work for all those things. So that's just I'm not going to go over a lot of training today per se, but I wanted to give you a quick lowdown of how I feel about it. And it's the way we have taught dolphins and killer whales and lions for the past 20 years and more, but really popular the past 20 years. And when you desensitize and counter condition a dog to something, it's usually if the dog would have a behavior problem. So that I think of fear, separation anxiety, over arousal, very, very jumpy, very excitable, and obviously aggression as your big kind of 3 or 4 behavior problems. When you desensitize, you always expose the dog or animal to the stimulus that you're trying to help them feel better about or calmer about in a lower level. So that's what this means when it says the truck must be, the scary monster must be kept at a distance so the dog doesn't go over threshold. And what that looks like in positive training is if I have a dog barking at other dogs on leash, I will move further away to get to the point where the dog can look at other dogs and not bark on leash, and we'll work at that distance. So encounter conditioning means you're trying to help the dog think differently of something it already has an emotion to. So it might be, I'm very scared of the big tow truck that goes down the street. And we want to make him say, oh, the tow truck that comes down the street means mom gives me chicken. And later it goes, the tow truck's coming down the street. I love this. I think the tow truck's great. And they look at you. And in fact, you can see that with mailmen. Often dogs will bark to get the mailman out of their territory. Bark, 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 mailman. The mailman leaves and they win. So they're like, yay, I got that dog out of there. I'm going to do that again. But if the mailman gives them treats, they run to the fence, bark, 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 and sit like, yay, you're here. Where's my treats? So you see this all the time happening. And this is just another way to look at it. Ding, ding, ding. The dog goes crazy. Instead, I can anticipate giving a treat. So during you go ding, treat, woohoo, later, that. And we all see this with cats. If they come home and never have been fed out of a can, you go with the can, with the can, with the can. Pretty soon you go, the cat comes pitter-patting for its food. And this is based on Pavlov and Thorndike and Skinner. That's what I mean about science-based. It has a lot of laboratory stuff. So the first thing we're going to talk about, and I'm going a little fast, so maybe we can get some questions in at the end. Independence and separation training. So I like to pair these out a little bit and called separation distress and separation anxiety and the differences. You can give that a read for a quick second and I'll explain a little bit. Take a drink of my tea. So I think the biggest thing this paragraph talks about is a lot of dogs will be a little bit, no dogs like to be alone. First of all, they're social animals, so they like to be with other people or dogs. Second of all, they see you leaving and it looks a lot of fun out there and they're not going. They want to go for their walk, etc. But some dogs will do horrible things to themselves or the house, etc. When you leave, other dogs will do lower level. So you always have, within a behavior issue, you always have a low, mild, moderate to severe problem. So most puppies, when you leave them, will cry, but we don't run and say, go to behaviors for separation anxiety. We say, hey, do this, do that, because we're going to try to teach the puppy to be alone. So a couple differences they make here is, one, some dogs, when you leave, they're like, oh, she left, but dad's home. I'll go get dad. Or, oh, I have a dog with me. I'm okay. Other dogs, you get another dog, that won't care. They'll still be very, very upset you leave. Some dogs will bark or cry for a few minutes and then they settle down. If that's okay, that's okay. What you're looking for is very high distress compared to a little distress that gets better with time or gets better, just they don't do it anymore. So this is what it looks like a little bit here. So really bad distress is this Boston Terrier. That really bad separation anxiety often is directed at doors and windows. And they will, I know, and they will chew up doors and windows all around. That is a panic attack. That is not going, oh, mom's gone. Okay, I'll go sleep. That's a panic attack. Okay. The Dane and the Lab, those could just be chewing. That might not be an anxiety attack, because I do suggest videotaping, and we'll talk about that before, because dogs, when they're bored, will often chew things. So I have one dog that chewed up a little bit of a hole in a chair. She wasn't anxiety. What she did was probably start licking the chair a little bit, then maybe gnawing it and going, oh, this is kind of fun. There's stuffing that comes out. It's like a big stuffed animal. I think I'll keep going. So chewing is not necessarily always separation anxiety. It can often be, I'm just bored and I'm going to get into trouble. So you really have to look for very frantic pacing. If they're in a crate, they often hit, like go back and forth in the crate. They might bite the bars, but bite the bars in a frantic manner. You often see puppies kind of lay down and chew the bar a tiny bit. That's not the same as frantically trying to get out. Urinating and defecating like almost the second you leave. That's also very, very high stress. If they've been home for 2 hours and they get up and go, I think I have to pee and poop, that's not. So you really have to look at what you have there. For cats, you'll often get, I'll talk a little bit about other animals, but most of this is going to be dogs. But cats often will start just from stress, peeing outside the litter box, scratching things, etc. But a lot of things we're going to talk about transfers over to all species. Enrichment is a huge thing, and confinement, or keeping animals away from certain areas that they might get into trouble with. So once you try it and you think your dog might be separation anxiety or distress, you want to start now. So even if you don't have to leave, do it. Don't think it's sad to leave your dog. It's actually practice and good to practice. You're going to make your dog feel a lot more confident if you practice now. So practice leaving the house even if you don't have to. Sometimes I tell people, take the dog for a walk, put them away, which we'll talk about, and then like go for a bike ride, because most dogs aren't going to go for the bike ride with you, or go get ice cream, things like that, where even if you don't have to, do it. And then do this for dogs that were even okay before the pandemic. You kind of want to have a test run where you leave your dog and go out to CVS or someplace you can get back if you needed to, and see if the dog is still okay with being left alone, or getting your dog up to longer time frames if you haven't. So I always tell people, give a test for 15 minutes or so if you don't know your dog is already very anxiety. If your dog does well, you add time. So, and I add time. I might do 15 minutes, 3 days in a row, then go to a half an hour. Things are going well, 3 days, then go to an hour. If you can practice 3 days a week, that would be awesome. Videotape your dog for the short period to observe what's going on. There's tons of videotaping apps now, dog apps, that you would videotape like on your laptop and then watch on your phone. There is also tons of little pet cameras that are very inexpensive. There's some that even spit out treats or talk to your dog, etc. I'm not sure my dogs would probably be worse if I talk to them not there. I think they jump up looking for me, so that's not always great. Then you want a Kong-like toy or lick mat to give your dog something good when you leave. And this has kind of double purposes. First of all, we're always getting classical conditioning, meaning one thing means another. So Pavlov is always on your shoulder. He's always hanging out. And what's happening there is, oh, when mom leaves, I get something great. But it also gives your dog something to do for the first 10 to 15 minutes. So they're not like kind of looking out the window trying to figure out where you went. So if your dog doesn't do Kongs well, I would definitely stuff them lightly at first, rub some on the side. And then as they get better, you can stuff them more tighter. And then as they get really good, you could freeze it. A lot of the places online will say freeze it right away. And it's too frustrating frozen right away, especially if they have a little stress. If your dog's a flat-nosed dog or really isn't that interested in food, sometimes licky mats work better. And I'll show you a picture of a licky mat in the coming slides. But it basically looks like a flat pothole holder made of silicone with some ribs and puzzles in it, and you smear the food. The other thing is you want something really good. If you just leave your dog with a couple crunchies in there, it's not going to work. It's kind of like, if would I get paid? Would I clean toilets for 25 cents? Maybe. Would I clean toilets for $100? Yeah, probably. So your dog might not eat the food if it's just dry food. But if it's wet food, dog wet food, even if your dog doesn't eat wet food on a regular basis, buy the same kind and you can put it in your Kong and only use it for those times. Cream cheese is another great one. If you have a dog that has a harder time, I suggest really upping the value like liverwurst. Sometimes peanut butter works, but sometimes we've used peanut butter so much that it's not an extra thing. And then give your dog some exercise beforehand. And leave some music on. That doesn't mean they think you're home. It just means they don't hear every alerting noise outside to think, is that her car? What's that dog? Is that someone coming? So it kind of just drowns out the things. For cats and birds, same idea. Make sure they have a cozy place, maybe not right next to an open window for birds and drafts. And give them a cozy place to sleep, enrichment toys. And cats can do all these types of Kong light and lick mats too. And birds have great, if you go to your bird store, they have great enrichment things that you can put in the cage. And even littles like now they have little things to push around for hamsters, just amazing all the little toys we have now and feeding toys. So moderate, you might actually up a little bit. This could be for everybody, but calm down your comings and goings. One of the things we do wrong is we're really excited when we come home because the dog's so excited and it's so cute. But we really don't want to make our dogs that to be the best part of their day. That makes them so excited to be around us, and you're rewarding excitable behavior. Whoops. And you don't want to just get them out, give them a potty break, and give them attention when they're calm. And when you leave, I usually say guard the house, and I give them their Kong or their licky mat. And they might not guard the house. They might be big scaredy cats, but it's a nice neutral tone without you saying, oh, I'm going to go, I'll be right back. And then you can mix up your departure signals. So sometimes I put on my shoes and I walk around. Sometimes I pick my keys, I put them down. A lot of dogs, sometimes if they have anxiety, will start, if you shower, eat, take them for a walk, then put on your shoes and leave the house or whatever it is, they start stressing out at the shower. So sometimes if you mix it up a bit, or even just walk around with your keys. So keys don't always mean you're walking out. Keys could mean I just put them in my pocket and walk around the house. Start to crate or put your dog in a confinement area when you're home too. So depending if your dog is crate chained or not, or you can use a gate and put them in a safe room. What I mean by that is like a kitchen or a laundry room where they can't chew up a couch or get into a lot of trouble or look out the window and bark all day. So if you don't have that, do it now. Start, and I can send you some stuff about crate training. I'll give you my email at the end there. So, but crate training and behind a gate is very similar to crate training. They don't want to be in a cage or behind a gate separated from you. So again, you're going to give them fun stuff. When you're home and doing this, you can give them more of like a chew. When you're alone, I only recommend the Kong. And even if they're chewers, like if they chew rubber, I wouldn't do a licky mat. But when you're home, you can be there and watch them, and you could give them a bully stick or great ones or Himalayan yak chews, and you can give those behind the gate and walk and do your dishes, etc. So if you start doing that at home, it's a little easier. So, and then work on some training cues. It helps to build confidence. You can say crate, and your dog goes to your crate. You can say go to your room for behind a gate. Um, and that way you have cues that are working, and they work, and you say go to your crate, and then you give the dog the calm. And relaxation, getting the dog to go down on a bed and doing some stays, etc., will help. So severe separation anxiety, like I showed you in those pictures where they're chewing up walls and things like that, you really have to go to like never leaving the dog alone, which is really tough. That means daycare, friends, family, etc. Because if your dog is hurting themselves or tearing up your house, you really have to start slow. So this is really hard and really is separation anxiety at its worst. You would definitely probably contact a trainer or behaviorist, even a veterinary behaviorist, as a lot of times anti-anxiety meds will help you get through the training of this. And you do very short departures where you're basically looking to leave the house. You go outside for 2 seconds and the dog does well and you come back, etc. I just like this picture because these people have cats that the dog tends to chase, and we've been working on it, but she has her own little room that she goes to around 8 p.m. at night so the cats can get down and cuddle. So I love her little toddler bed, and she knows to go in that room, and she settles in there. She doesn't cry. They've given her bones. So she has her own little room that she can settle in, and it's great when it's needed. So that's separation anxiety, the lowest to the highest. My biggest things are, find a confinement area that your dog can do, train it now, give them something great when you leave. It's amazing the difference there of just having a great food when you leave. So the other thing I think we're going to have problems with when we go back to more normal, and you might have already had this, where you've had people over and your dog is barking up a storm or running around scared, whatever it might be when you have people over. So socialization with people, dogs, and environment. Even if your dog, again, was purchased before COVID, that year and a half of not having anything or very low can make a change. So we're going to talk about that. I think these are my two biggest things I'm seeing already is, can the dog separate, and can the dog allow people to come in the house? Just getting some lawnmowers, close my windows. Okay, so people. So when people come in the house, you can have excitement, fear, and alert behavior. So alert behavior is barking. So again, I'm going to do low first. So, and you can almost do this with any behavior issue. How can I manage it? What can the dog do instead? So what training thing can they do? And do I need to D and C and C, which do I need to desensitize and counter condition the dog? So to manage people coming in the house, don't have the dog at the front door. The front door is just, you're like, hi, hi, hi. And then we're like, sit, don't move. And the poor dog, everything's going on at the front door. It's tight. There's people coming in they don't know. So I just tell people, hold on a sec. I go get my dog on a leash and I back up from the front door. And I do some basic training with my dog in high value treats. Sit, touch, come on in, so that the dog can take a chill for a second. Take a deep breath, do some stuff. If the dog cannot stop barking and do a few training cues, then I move back further. I've got to find that what I call the trigger point where the dog can look at the person and kind of get over it. If you have to, if the dog's a really bad barker that doesn't seem to want to stop, even if you're all the way in the kitchen and the people in the living room, use a stuffed Kong or chew and have them do it. Have them eat that, where they might bark once or twice and they're like, oh, wait, I have chicken in my Kong. And they go to the Kong. You stay further away. Some dogs are better meeting outside. So you can meet the people outside and then all walk in together. Sometimes that's easier to do. It's often what's easier for you and your family, but helps the dog have better behaviors. Have the person go sit down. Standing up and walking towards a fearful dog it can be scary and cause more barking and growling. So if you have the person sit, they're not as apt to hover over the dog and back the dog into a corner going, oh no, dogs love me. Dogs love me. So once your dog has calmed down, have the dog do some training cues. As I said, once the dog has calmed down, no pulling, barking, or lunging, then you can have the person put their hand down by their knee, flat, not sticking out. I don't do the hand, stick your hand out with a fist. I think that's invading the dog's space if they're scared. And that can be, so this is right down by the knee, next to the knee. And the dog, if you teach a targeting or touch signal, which I'll talk about a little bit later, dogs know to go nose a palm with their nose. So it gives the dog a target to go to. And it also is less scary than being pat on the head and things like that. It also, if the dog doesn't approach, don't make them. So if they're a little bit fearful, we're not going to say you have to say hi to that person. We're going to go say hi, give them a little, I usually take one step towards the person. If the dog moves, great. If they don't, I go, okay, and back up and go sit down. You can go sit down on a chair across the room, give the dog the Kong. Did I lose everybody? Hopefully you're still there. I just don't see you anymore. Let me just make sure. So good, I see. And then let the dog approach. If they jump or anything, I move backwards again with a let's go, which just means move along with me. I still give them a treat because I'm not going to be mad at them for failing. They're young or they haven't had this for a long time. We're still teaching them. So I go, let's go. I just don't want them to get the person petting them while they're jumping. I don't want them to get rewarded for jumping. So, but I will reward them for moving back away from me, because moving away from things is the hardest thing for dogs to do. So I'll go, let's go. And I move back with the leash and then I give them a treat. Have person toss the treats if they're scared of people. I don't have people hand a treat because sometimes they can hand a treat and then try to get a pet on a scared dog. And if petting happens under the chin or chest is better than overhead. Overhead can rile up jumpy dogs and can scare other dogs. So, and then I have to give a chew or something on their bed while you're sitting down just to keep them calmer and keep them with you. And so if you have high excitement, moderate fear, and alert behaviors, you can teach your dog to go to a crate or a gated room when visitors come. So you're just taking away that initial holding on the leash and everything. You're going to teach them to go, just like I was saying before, go to your crate, grab a Kong, you can leave some in the freezer and take them there. And this is a great little like gated area. Like I could have people in the living room and my dog's in there. Again, you need the room a little bit further away so they're not so close to the people that they're not going to be able to calm down. And same as what we were talking about separation, I practice this when nobody's coming over too. Go to your room, grab the Kong and get them there and leave them behind there while I fold laundry or something. So then it's not only happening when people are coming over. And then depending on the level of the dog, and if you want them to meet the people, you just do the leash greeting like in the former slide and go again. If there's true aggression, snapping, growling, again, give a call to a trainer, a behaviorist or a vet behaviorist. We want to make sure to keep you and your dog safe. And some people, I never have them meet. The plumber's coming and I've got 2 dogs and I don't want them, even if they're friendly. The plumber needs to get his stuff done. So I might put them in a room or a gate with a great chew. I often use raw bones for that when I've got to close a door, because closing a door is even harder than being able to see. So socialization to dogs, trying to keep it, you're going to go slow. If they haven't been around a lot of dogs, use friends, family, neighbors' dogs. Meet at a neutral place. Often coming into a house with another dog will cause some territorial aggression or fear. When you're meeting another dog, take away all bones and food because that can cause problems. If you're not at a dog park, just 2 dogs, dragging leashes is nice. I mean, people get scared they're going to get caught. But if you're right there, I've never had them get caught that they hurt the dog. And that way, if there is a little scuffle, I can pick up a leash and move them away from each other. You do not want to try to grab a collar if there's a scuffle, because that's putting your hand in the middle of 2 mouths that are moving around and you could get bit very easily. So it's nice to have the leash. Small groups might be appropriate for some dogs, like play groups like the one with the water and back there, that people take the dogs either to a fenced in area or their backyard. That might work for some dogs. Walkers could work that might have one or two dogs. Um, Daycare with group separation, and what I mean by that is they have small dogs or they have 10 in one area and 10 in another. Really large dog daycare is not the way to start if your dog has missed separation. It's a little too much. And then dog parks when quiet. I do not love dog parks on Saturdays. They're very busy and they're a little crazy. So go when it's a quieter time, drive up, see what's going on. Does it look good? Are the dogs playing nicely? Are the people paying attention to their dogs? And some dog parks do have separate for smaller or puppies. Those are good. So ways to get out and get your dog around dogs. Um, if there's high arousable fear or aggression, um, it's okay. Some dogs don't like every dog, just like us. Some people want to go to the party with 50 people. Other people would rather stay home and watch a movie, right? And so let's say that's okay with our dog. If your dog doesn't do it well at the dog park, that's not a big deal. Like I said, hire a dog walker or go for a walk on your own. My dogs don't like dog parks, but we do go off leash hiking. I've trained it. Most dogs, you're going to have them on leash for safety. Even if the leash kind of kicks it up a notch sometimes, there's no way to just let two dogs loose and hope for the best if you already have some aggression. And distance helps. So if you're having two dogs meet, again, neutral territory, have them be like 20 feet away. Can each dog do a little bit of a training cues and pay attention to you while you're walking 20 feet away from each other? And if they both calm a bit, then you go forward and say hello. Short greetings are great. 5 seconds. Hello, hello. They do great. Good. Let's go do a parallel walk together. Or let's move on. Again, if you're having high fear or aggression, contact a trainer to help you. It's not always easy to re-socialize a dog because not other people want to expose a dog to their dog that might have aggression. So often we just look for, can the dog walk with other dogs, etc. So kind of know the dog you have and be okay with that with dogs and people. Environments. So a lot of dogs haven't been out that much. Noises, objects, and things. Again, go slow and start now. So if you're going on vacation in August and you're going to drag your dog down to Martha's Vineyard and they're going to go on the ferry and all that stuff, you want to do low intensity outings first. Distance is usually the way to do low intensity. So if I'm at the soccer game, I'm not going to be in the middle of all the parents and the kids pushing the soccer ball. I'm going to go behind the goalpost where nobody is. I'm going to have treats with me. I'm going to have bones. I'm going to have a towel so that the dog can be comfortable. And then you're going to look for recovery and resilience, meaning, oh, there's all the soccer parents jump up and down and scream and there's a whistle and your dog goes, whoo, and jumps back. And then he slows down and looks again and goes, oh, that's okay. You can give him a couple treats for that too. Like, yep, whistle means treat. Yep, big bang means treats. If your dog's like scared of the garbage truck, you got to make sure it's further enough away that the dog's not scurrying to get away from the leash, that he can look at the garbage truck and be like, I'm a little scared of that truck, but I'm not over threshold. If you're going to start bringing your dog, like I said, offices, ferries, home, practice now. Try a group play, daycare, or walker, create area bed, enrichment, choose toys, plays, walks, etc. That means if you're going to bring your dog to the office, do you need to bring chews and a bed to make sure they're okay? If you're not, do you want to hire a play, daycare, a walker, etc.? Does your dog need to get used to crates or a bed? So like if you vacation and they're coming. So all that is very similar. Set them up for success, knowing that where they might be. I had a person that was going to fly with the dog. We did everything before he flew. He parked the dog underneath his legs, and he went on the subway, and he went on a bus, and he went in his own car first. He went and sat at the airport 5 times before he had to get on the plane. Because the worst is to get someplace and your dog won't get on the ferry. Like go down to the ferry terminal or go on a lake with someone's boat or something. Try things first. Quick thing on body language. Just again, this could be a whole nother thing. Just the big threes are Loose body means your dog is usually relaxed. So curvy, I call it the C curve. They're walking towards you and they've got a nice loose body, loose eyes, their body's wiggly. That usually means happy. Um, Stiff and alert usually means they're figuring things out. You'll often see two adult dogs come in and they're very stiff and straight up and the ears are up and the body muscles are stiff and they kind of meet each other and they sniff the rear end or the back of the neck and then they kind of go, oh, I like you. And they loosen up or they go, and they give a little, growl or something. And then fear usually looks like moving away, even if they're not. This poor little thing in that picture, it's not moving away, but it looks like he could back up any second. They're usually low to the ground sometimes, tucked tail, ears back, and trying to move away from things. Sometimes high fear, the dog can completely shut down, meaning they just don't do any movement at all, trembling, etc. So those are your big three. There's in between playful, etc. But your big three are going to be when the dog is stiff, it's alert and looking at something or figuring things out. And that can go either way. You usually know your dog. I think we're at almost time. So I'm going to skip. I had put in more if it went faster. So nuisance behavior, all I'm going to say about this is this stuff might crop up when you're leaving your dog home alone or when you're not taking your dog out for as long a walks and stuff. Barking, digging, chewing. And the reason I wrote dog behavior is this is all normal behavior for dogs. It's a nuisance to us. So think about these and what you might help. And your biggest thing that will help is enrichment. So is the 4 things to think about enrichment. Is the dog getting enough exercise? If you're not doing it, get help. If training, a few short training sessions a day, 5 minutes, twice a day, and then maybe on a walk. It's brain energy. It gets bonding with you. You're teaching your dog communication. Puzzle toys and stuffed and smeared toys, Kongs, feeding balls, actual puzzles that they move around. Do it yourself. You take a paper towel roll and stuff it with kibble and then close the sides and the dog rips it up. Yep, you have a mess to pick up, but it's cheap and easy. Real bones. So sniffing games are great. Sniffing is a very relaxing time for a dog, and they need that. Find it. You toss treats in the backyard. I toss kibble and go, find it. So my dogs have this big, I call it a pig snuffle search, and they search the whole backyard for those kibble toss. And then they have this whole thing on the internet, ditch the bowl. I have a cattle dog. She did not eat out of a bowl for a year. She ate out of puzzle toys, and I trained her with 20 pieces before I put down the bowl. These things are going to be your big, how do I help my dog not dig? Do a find it. How do I help my dog not chew? Confinement and things like that. How do I manage? What can I add to their life to help? So I'm just going to quickly go, boom. Here you go. I love this. These are your licky mats. This is your paper towels up there with my dog. That's Loki. These are all the different kinds of toys you can put kibble or dry treats in. And your stuffing toys, what I mean by that is your Kong, you stuff with wet food. This is called, down at the bottom right, is called a knot rock, GNAWT. It's my favorite feeding toy. You put kibble in there and the dog kicks it around with its nose and gets the kibble out. That's my feeding tool when I'm having a rainy day. My dogs eat out of that. And then your licking mats for when they're home alone, if they're not big chewers, etc. So barking, I'm not going to go over this because we're about to end. I'm going to try to take some questions, but basically you can look at this and get exactly what you're doing. Well, how do we prevent it? How do we, what can we teach instead? And what's the management and other things they can do? And digging, I love dig pits. If your dog's a terrier and they love to dig, make them a dig pit, a sandbox that you hide little dry treats in and the dog can go get. You redirect them to the sand pit. So chewing, again, set them up for success. Put away everything. Are they hungry? Provide legal chews. You need crates and gates so they're not chewing up things you don't want them to. Counter surfing, again, don't leave anything on that counter for them to get. Put up the gate when you're doing something. You can train a mat and stay behavior. For now, if they're puppies or adolescents, you put them in a crate when you're eating. Pulling, manage with a harness. I don't use prong collars or electric shock. I was trained on a prong, but I transferred over to positive training. So I know about them, and I am in love with all the other new tools that do heed movement, but they do not cause pain. They are sometimes, the head halter takes a little while for a dog to get used to, so we'll do some desensitization. But the front clip harness is amazing for pulling and does not really, the dogs do not really notice it. They put it on usually easy, put it on with a treat for a little bit scaredy dogs, and it doesn't irritate them. Jumping, we did that kind of coming in the house, same idea, leashed, etc. And the review is start now. Start training your dog to be alone, or having, even if you're not going to have a lot of people over in the next month, have someone over to practice. Ask or hire help if needed. Can your neighbor let your dog out in the middle while you work? Especially in the summer, maybe you could get a teenage kid to help till you hire somebody. Everybody's really busy too, so that's why you call now. Even if you're not going to need your walker till September, call now. It's going to be really busy. Dog trainers, walkers, and daycare are getting very, very, very busy again, and groomers, etc. What can you do to manage? How can you enrich the dog? Because that's easy. Those two are easy. And then, can you train, and do you need to desensitize and counterconditioning? These are some of the references, books I love, online training. I'll take some questions now. So I don't know if, do you guys type them in or start my video? Does anybody have any questions? Do you put on your mic and ask a question, raise your hand? And if we don't have any questions, let me just go here.
I have a quick question, Kim.
Sure.
So this is so my dog, he has quite a few different other issues when it comes to hearing like loud noise, like the garbage truck. If he hears the garbage truck, he would drool and get scared and try to run in the bathroom and try to run and hide.
Oh,
it's like, how do I help him with that?
Yeah, so that's noise. Even so, he's inside, he doesn't like the garbage truck, huh?
Yeah, even inside. Like I tried taking him outside during the time with the garbage truck. So because the first time he ran away from the yard is when he saw a garbage truck.
Oh, so the first thing I would do is try to make it lower intensity. So I play like light music all the time in the house, so it kind of drowns out any scary noises or alert barking noises. And then you can also find all these noises on the internet now. Like you can look up on YouTube, garbage trucks, and you get those. And what you do is you play them lower, right? Because we can't really always lower the intensity if it's outside our house and we're inside.
Right.
So what you can do is, 2 times a day, whatever, take that and play it really low and feed him his best treat ever. So like you play it and you go chicken, chicken, chicken. Okay. And then when you stop that recording, the chicken goes away. Okay. And this is called open bar, close bar. It just means, when this goes off, I get the chicken. But by playing it low, you don't get that scare dogs out of its head. I think we're often trying to train the dog when they're kind of gone, whether they're overexcited, over fearful. I would say if I'm crying and my husband's trying to teach me math, I am not going to learn, right? So I have to be in the mode and I have to be learning easy math first. So we have to try to get that intensity lower and then pair it with something really good. And what you're hoping is you see, before you even raise the volume on the garbage truck, is you play it really low and he looks at you like, where's my chicken? That's the garbage truck. Okay. Right? And when you see that look where he goes, oh, that means chicken, then you raise it a little higher and then work on that and work it on again, and then work it on again. And in the meantime, right, we're just gonna have to deal with large garbage trucks. I'd run in the back of the house, throw him some treats, play with a toy, try to get as far away as you can from the noise to lower it and have some fun. Okay. So does that make sense?
Yeah, I'll try that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anybody else? No? I'll put that back up. just the books, the video channels, there's tons of video channels now. I try to look for ones that are pretty well known, like Zach George. He has a lot of advertisements, just skip them. But you know, these are all there for you to get. And please drop me an email if you want, or give me a call and I can help you out. I obviously go to people's houses, but I can answer a quick question if you have it. I also teach training classes in Natick, so I can give you anything, what you might need. So good luck with your dog and getting them used. I think they all had a great time loving us. Now, if you have any questions about other animals too, I have worked in shelters with the other animals. I didn't get to them as much, but I think enrichment is a key part to other animals. You wouldn't need a walk and all that stuff, but you might have someone come in and play with a flirt pole with a dog, or take the bird out on their shoulder for an hour. So you might even have someone come visit. Birds love busyness, so I think birds are going to be affected too when the house is really quiet. They love noise and busyness, so they're going to be like, what's going on? So I think that's it. Thank you so much for coming. We went a little over, so if I lost people. And again, if you have any questions, drop me a line. And it was great to do this for you all. Happy training, happy dogs, happy pets, and happy getting back to life normal. It's nice to be out and about a bit. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks.